All right, hello everyone. Just finished watching Mississippi State versus LSU, and now I get to talk about KJ Costello because he's probably blowing up your phones with the app notifications and the updates because he just had a record-setting performance in his first game in Mississippi State with the Mike Leach air raid offense, and that is going to be the focus of this because as we inch ever so closer to the next NFL draft, most of you are probably here from when I was doing the draft videos for the 2020 NFL draft, getting started early this year on NFL draft videos, and hopefully we get to continue all the way up until April and really crunch out some good stuff between now and then. So what I wanted to do today was sort of talk about that record-setting game, talk about KJ Costello as a prospect for the next NFL draft as it is, and see where we go from there. Now, we are not making final conclusions today. That's not what this is for. This is just kind of an introduction to the player after one game. I coming a little bit short of doing a player profile, which is what I would like to do in the future. But I think it's a little too early to put like any kind of a stamp on any kind of player, especially at this juncture. It's just one game. We don't know how he's going to do against the rest of the SEC, and let's just go ahead and say it, LSU doesn't look very good anymore. And that's going to happen when you win a national title. You lose both of your coordinators. All of your players go to the draft. LSU is just going to have to pick up the pieces and rebuild, and it's probably going to take them a little bit of time. But having said that, KJ Costello comes over from the Pac-12 as a graduate transfer from Stanford, and he now finds himself in a Mike Leach offense. And months ago, this isn't something new for me, months ago, I was actually very intrigued, and I think I did a video where I talked about the top quarterback prospects heading into this college football season that I was going to be watching, and Costello was one of them. And the intrigue came from a guy that goes from a Pac-12 pro-style offense to a Mike Leach air raid offense that has produced quarterbacks, by the names of Cliff Kingsbury and Graham Harrell and Gardner Minshew that is sweeping the nation, Minshew mania. So I thought, there might be something here. And I remember saying that, I expect him to light it up statistically. I expect him to light up the stat sheet. Maybe not so much, draw attention to the intangibles or even the traits that he has to climb up the draft boards. But he kind of did both today, and I was actually kind of surprised. I didn't think it was going to be this good. So let's go over what we saw today. Today versus LSU, he goes 36 for 60, 623 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 10.4 yards per attempt, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble loss. They win the game. I believe the final score is 44-34. And the passing yard total is a single game SEC record. So Mike Leach comes in to Mississippi State, one game with the air raid offense, and he gets the SEC single game passing record. Just the dude's a madman. This is also the first 600-yard passing game performance by any SEC quarterback in history. So that is just another dive into the record books. And they also knock off a top 10 opponent. So pretty impressive day overall for Mississippi State. So KJ Costello, from what I've seen from the game, a lot of good things. Really throwing open to receivers. The mistakes early on, you could point to that being like, even myself, I was like, whoa, whoops, maybe I backed the wrong horse here. These are some egregious errors. We had the pick 6 early on. The second interception he threw the wide receiver was very well covered, but that's some of the things that come with this guy, is that he's going to have trust in his wide receivers to make big plays, and he does have a history of bad decisions. So that was something that I wanted to do with the pros and cons column here. These aren't necessarily my pros and cons. These are just comments that I've collected from around the internet from different scouts and sort of put them into one hub, if you will. Just little blurbs here and there about what they think of the guy. So in the pros column is basically good stuff that I've heard that I saw frequently, and cons is some of the stuff that I saw frequently as well. So if I saw it more than once, it ends up on the board. So with the pros, he has the size, 6'5", 223 pounds. That's kind of your Blake Bortles statuesque size quarterback. He comes from the pro-style offense that we mentioned. He has the experience with that at Stanford for a couple of years. Now he's in the air raid system, which is actually going to benefit him in a way because it'll show off his versatility and sort of give him a chance to prove that he's a good decision maker, given that you're going to be throwing the ball 60 times a game. Keeps his eyes downfield, and I think that was something that was present on the game today. We'll have to go back and watch the film at a later date, but at the same time, he's constantly looking downfield for the open receiver. He may or may not lock onto the initial read. There was a lot of throws on underneath crossing routes that occurred in this game, which were, wide open. So, can't blame him. So, but we'll have to go back and look at that as well. This is just sort of an in the moment reaction to the game having just ended about 30 minutes ago. And another thing that I read that, dating back to his Stanford days, is that he really does trust his wide receivers. He'll throw a lot of 50-50 balls with the confidence that his wide receiver is going to go up and make a play. And it's one of that part of that pro style offense that they ran in Stanford, where you were going to throw to a covered receiver who's going to be uncovered here in a few moments. So throwing guys open was sort of the MO back in Stanford. So he brings that sort of confidence to an air raid system. As we saw today, the stat sheet could really be set on fire. Some of the cons is the decision making, which I've mentioned before. Scouts appear to agree that he makes some really questionable, boneheaded decisions from time to time, and I don't think we really saw anything too egregious, other than ball security might be an issue with the almost fumble, but luckily his hand was going forward. It was almost a revisit of the tuck rule, if you will. And the 2 interceptions were, the pick 6 is never good, but I don't think that's too much. It wasn't too much really of a bad thing. And then the other interception was just really, really good coverage by LSU. They had that wide receiver absolutely smothered. The other thing is the escapability. Some people have noted that, he's going to be able to step up in lanes that are open, but he's not going to buy extra time with his legs. It's just not that style of quarterback. And the last thing that I noted was how he'll face the pressure. But, he'll stand up in pressure. He won't immediately bail on a pocket, but he'll stand up to pressure to the point where the pressure causes him to make some sort of an erratic throw or decision, and that is something that scouts have said he needs to clean up. Another thing that I saw was the arm angles, and it was even evident in today's game. He threw a sidearm pass to the flats, which scouts are sort of 50-50 on this from what I've read. Some people think it's kind of unnecessary, and then other people have said, well, it does work for him, so what's the big deal? And you can even sort of, not to make a comparison that will break the internet, but you've seen other quarterbacks in the NFL have different arm angles for different situations. One of the more notable ones being Patrick Mahomes right now. So I don't see that being too egregious, if you will, but it's probably something that if it's not necessary, they'll want to clean that up a little bit. I did like, you never want to see a quarterback throwing off his back foot or, with his body in a position where you don't know where the ball is going to go exactly, but he's got nice touch on some of his passes where he threw open to one of the receivers for a long touchdown. So I liked what I saw today. I thought it was pretty good. Obviously there's going to be more games to watch. There's going to be games, probably better competition. Not that LSU isn't bad, but they didn't play very well. They were also down their best player, who had to be hospitalized prior to the game for an unrelated illness to COVID, but hopefully he is okay and everything in that situation is good. So I don't want to downplay LSU as being a bad team, but they've lost a ton of talent. This isn't the same team as last year with Grant Delpit and Caleb Von Chase on. It's just not. Even though the one player whose name escapes me, the FCS transfer, I think it was Jabril Cox, he was the one with the pick 6. He had a pretty good game. So, it's going to be interesting going forward, seeing a Mississippi State Bulldog team that goes from, one of the better running teams in the SEC. They only had 1,100 yards passing last year, and now he's already, got half of that in 1 week. So it's just going to be interesting to see the inverse of what this team was last year, and how KJ Costello continues to improve his game and get more acclimated with the air raid offense. So it's going to be an exciting season in the SEC. I'm ready for it. I can't wait to see the next one. And this is just, day one of going more in depth with the prospect. We're going to do a lot more of these. So if this is your thing, stick around. Even when the draft gets closer, January, February, we'll do 7-round mock drafts. We'll do team-specific mock drafts, all kinds of different situations and scenarios. So very excited for the draft. Very excited. College football is back. Can't wait to get the Pac-12 and the Big Ten on board with this, so we can start taking a look at some of those players. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.